All right,
All right.
we are live.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
As
hello.
live as you can get on a
Yes, hello,
recorded
listeners.
podcast.
Yes,
Hello, myself, when this gets uploaded, and I listen back
yes.
to it and go, why did I fucking say that?
Why did I agree to do this? What have you roped me into, Jack?
I hate my voice.
Oh no, I got used to it.
Um,
But yeah, this is
yeah,
a
you'd think
show.
I would have.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't think we have decided on a name yet either, so that's going to be great. You guys will know our name technically if you're listening to this before we do.
that's right.
So,
We are
uh,
insert name here for later. I'll put something over that. Maybe.
God, if this comes out and we're literally called insert name here for later, I'm gonna fucking be upset.
I mean, I suggested the fancy podcast in memory of the greatest film ever, Freddy Got Fingered. This is a fancy restaurant. Iconic scene. One of many iconic scenes.
This is a fancy restaurant.
This is a fancy
You
restaurant.
lost me 10 million in stocks. You're fired. You're fired. Freddy got fingered, by the way.
Cult
One of the
classic.
best movies ever. I love that movie so much. Like, unironically, love that movie.
Yeah, no, it's good. We'll probably have to discuss that in detail one of these days, one of these
At some
podcasts.
point, we'll probably have to rewatch it
Mm,
and then discuss it.
for
I
sure.
feel like this channel is going to predominantly be about films
Yep,
and television series of descriptions,
that's right.
um, and probably just random pop culture as well. Which I guess there's probably a lot of podcasts like that out there at the moment,
Yeah, boy.
especially even Australian ones. I guess there's Mr. Sunday Movies, who I watch all the time. To be honest, I like him a
Yeah,
lot.
I
I like
watch on
him
and
and
off.
Mason.
Yeah, no, they're good. I just, it's always time for me. There's always so much out there, so I always feel bad because they're very on the ball, but also very genuine. You know what I mean? Like I really feel their energy. They have a
Yeah,
great dynamic and they have good
they're
interest.
not over the top, just trying really
Yeah.
hard to be bloody energetic all the time. But they
Mm.
are energetic, but in a natural way.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say like they're boring or dull,
And they're
which they
not
are
they're
not.
not
They're very funny.
they're not like they're not on the level of like your corporate types like Collider. Is it Collider? That where they have like where it's very oh what am I even thinking of here? Where it's pretty much like they've clearly, softening up their criticisms of, this film, that film, this company, that company to get to
Yeah,
premieres and like they got
yeah.
mad.
They tell what they genuinely feel about a product
Mm,
most of the time.
we
Well, I
can't
mean all of the
guarantee. We
time,
can't guarantee.
except for maybe like Raycon, because Raycon sponsors them a lot, and I know for a fact that Raycon is trash. Like it is a horrible headphone. I'm sorry, Raycon. I know you're never going to sponsor us now, but like
Yes,
I've read the specs of their headphones and they are garbage.
that's
They are
right. Look,
horrible,
if ever we get a Raycon sponsor, you'll know because this
which we
episode
will
will
not
have been
now.
deleted off of the internet.
Yeah.
You'll never find. This is a lost episode.
If you wonder where this episode's gone in 10 years' time, we probably have a Raycon sponsorship on one of our newer videos
We
or
sold out, man.
podcasts. Yeah, we sold out
Yeah.
just like Wayne's World. People just do things for money. That's just really sad.
Yeah,
He's just dressed in
though.
Reebok out of nowhere.
Oh, that's
Oh
a
god,
classic scene. I think that's how I was that Wayne's World 1 or 2 where he's just
that's the second
it's the
one.
second one. Oh,
I don't mind the second one.
that's probably one of those very rare films where it didn't need a sequel, but the sequel was brilliant or like for what it was. Like I would put 22 Jump Street in that category where it's kind of just self-aware, knows what it is, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah,
But
pretty much.
although
I agree.
ironically, I haven't seen 21 Jump Street, so perhaps I'm
Did we
jumping
not
the
watch it
gun.
in the movies?
No, we saw the
I swear
sequel.
we saw it in the
We
movies.
saw the sequel. I
I
never
thought we
saw
saw the
21.
original.
I don't think
Ah,
so.
okay.
No.
Okay. I must be mistaken.
But
Um,
so we don't really have a huge, clear rather, idea of where we want to take the show in terms of a structure. It's probably just kind of like as it comes.
babbling.
Yeah.
Eventually, we'll probably perfect it as we go, but for now, it's going to be like guerrilla podcasting. Um, I guess this week and the past couple weeks, the two biggest pop culture related things and things that I'm interested in getting sort of like going would be Godzilla versus Kong, obviously, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. That is the 4 hour long
Yeah.
bloody original vision of Zack Snyder. And I was talking to some people about this. They seem to think that Darkseid is not going to be the main villain, or they're not going to fight Darkseid at all in this movie because they're like, oh, they're going to set him up for a sequel. But the thing is, I don't. And Zack Snyder has said himself that
Yeah,
they're
no,
not
this
they're
isn't.
not
This
letting him do
is.
another one.
I wouldn't expect it. I think it would be similar to like a director's cut almost. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
really rare exception, but it's sort of like
and
it's just a one and done thing.
and it's 4 hours long. That's the length of 2.5 movies.
Yeah. Is it his?
Assuming a movie. Hey,
Oh, sorry. I
sorry,
was
you
just
go.
gonna say, is it? It's so it was originally two films, wasn't it? The original Justice League, as he envisioned.
Um,
Like that's probably why it's so long. I can't imagine he had an original
that's
4 hour.
that's what I'm assuming. But these people seem to think no, it's just a bunch of extra crap he's added in onto the first one. I'm with you. I think it's him just being like, well, I'm only going to get one shot to tell my Justice League story. I'm just going to put it all into a 4 hour film. So, to my understanding, I think they are going to have a sort of cold ending where Darkseid might actually have defeated them, and it will just sort of end on that sort of note, or more of like a we won but at what cost ending, because Zack Snyder is the kind of guy who's like no happy endings. I feel like he doesn't want it to have a happy ending.
No, for sure.
Nevertheless, I am excited for it. Hesitantly excited after seeing the picture of Jared Leto's Joker wearing a crown of thorns in similar fashion to Jesus.
Yeah, he loves his Jesus metaphors, quite a
Is
bit.
that even a metaphor at this point?
Oh, because it's so blatant. Nah, probably not. Probably not.
But I do think it's I don't think there's much of a chance at all that it will be worse than the version we originally got. I don't think any, there's not many conceivable ways that I think he could make it worse. I
Yeah.
think it could be bad still, but just based on the fact that it will be at least somewhat consistent with his Batman v Superman and make a little bit more sense in regards to like coming off of that movie with consistent characters and stuff like that. It just has to be better in that regard, at least. I mean, if
Um,
I get proven wrong, I will admit to it, but
Now here's a question. So, because you've obviously, as people will probably find out as we go through these episodes, depending on how many we make, you're obviously a lot more invested in uh, the Justice League kind of cinematic universe than I. I haven't researched it as much, but I do want to double check with you, as you'd probably know this. So all the scenes that are being added that are quote unquote new have already previously been shot, or is there some new material? Because I think I've talked to you about this offline. That whole "we live in a society" thing. I feel like that's surely
there is
added
no
in.
way that was there was yeah. So he did say that there was a certain amount added in,
Hmm.
maybe about 30 to 40 minutes, I think, from memory. I read somewhere that it was about 30 to 40 minutes of extra footage being shot for the Snyder Cut, but the rest was already pretty much shot. And I would assume, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and you can see that even in one of the first looks you get at Dark Side, is that like ancient war with all those ancient beings against Steppenwolf that we got in the original cut, but it seems like it's Darkseid that's fighting them all in that segment that we got from the Snyder cut. It's hard to talk about this like and word it in a way that probably isn't confusing
Mhm.
for people who aren't invested or you know
Yeah. Well,
don't care. But then
yeah.
again, if they're not invested and don't care, they're probably not listening to a podcast
That's okay.
made about subjects like this.
Hey, look, just maybe go on 10 times speed, go through this whole thing, so we get a watch through rate, and that's all
I'm
right.
probably talking quite fast as well.
Yeah.
I'm probably talking quite fast.
Well, I guess to pull things back a
I,
bit for as like a reminder or maybe a quick explainer, basically, it's a chap called Zack Snyder directing Justice League film, and essentially, uh, for reasons we probably don't entirely know, but we can speculate unless it's confirmed, he gets booted off the
oh
project.
no, 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 no.
Oh,
What happened was his daughter committed suicide. Not
mm,
my story to tell. Very sad, obviously. And he was like, "Can I please go and grieve with my family?" And they said, "I guess so, but considering you have to finish this movie, we're just going to give it to somebody else." And Zach, being a regular human being, was like, "I think I'm going to go grieve with my family and not
yeah,
worry about this movie." Like,
for sure.
and Warner Brothers was like, "Okay, screw you. Let's get somebody who is probably the complete opposite of you, just about." And get him on there to finish your movie and even reshoot some of the other scenes. And it
Yes,
was
which
like,
was not a
that was
wise
never going to
idea.
work.
Yeah.
That's never going to work.
Like.
Ridiculous. It was silly.
Mm,
It's WB's fault at the end of the day. In my opinion, it's Warner Brothers' fault. Joss Whedon, he wants to make money. Obviously, he's going to be like, and he
yeah.
does love comic book characters. So obviously, he's
Mm,
going to be like, hell yeah, I want to work with these characters. Of
you jump at
course,
the idea.
he doesn't care if he kind of ruins the vision of another director. He doesn't care about
Yeah.
his wife. So why would he care about Zack Snyder?
It's quite yeah, he loves ruining things. I mean,
Marriages,
I should stress this podcast is being
careers.
recorded in a place where we legally can say these things. We may sound Australian, but we are not.
Yes,
I think I've made that joke before,
yes.
but
Oh yeah, that's right. They can sue us for defamation. I mean, no, they
yeah.
can't.
Well, theoretically they
I'm gonna
could if we
talk
were
like
in a
this the whole way
country
now.
with very bad speech laws, but we're not.
Yeah, if I
Don't
didn't
worry.
have this awesome accent
Mhm.
from California,
Well, I
but I
acquired
am
it in
Californian.
my travels to Australia. I acquired this accent,
Ah,
of
of course,
course.
of
But
course.
but yeah, I guess so. Yeah, Joss Whedon obviously took that over, completely changed. Color palette was different, tone was very different. I've always maintained that it feels very. It kind of gets a little taste of that Marvelitis, because that's of course his background as far as a lot of superhero films were. And as I've said before, he very much Tony Starked and Captain America'd Batman and Superman respectively, and it was absolute dog shit, I
It's
think.
abysmal. There are two good parts in that movie that I know he added
Hmm.
in my opinion. He added in that initial part with the bank robber, and Batman, and even then though, that is an almost exact rip-off of the DC animated universe,
Hmm.
Justice League movie with Batman doing
Yeah.
the exact same thing. So,
Oh,
as cool
okay.
as it was and it looked, it was a rip-off, and maybe it was unintentional, but like, what are the odds? And
Well, because they have the '89 Batman theme play then, so it's possible it's an entire homage,
to
potentially.
the
I don't know.
character doing
Yeah,
something in Justice
just
League, no, I don't think so.
no.
I don't think it's an homage, to be
Yeah,
honest, because
fair
that
enough.
animated universe. I'm not talking about the Kevin Conroy one either. I'm talking about the new animated universe that began with the Flashpoint in like what the uh, like early 2010s,
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay. Right. Right. Right.
Um, and then
And there was one other
the
scene.
part where Superman first comes back that I
Hmm.
enjoy, where he says his line about truth and justice. I liked that. That was cool. That was like a little like
Yeah.
heartwarming, like, oh, this is so awesome moment. But
Did he add
like,
in the Flash and Superman racing at the end, or was that a Zack thing? Because that sort of seems more
mm, that
Whedon-esque.
seems Whedon. I didn't mind that
Like,
either, to be honest.
if
But
it was Zack
Zack
Snyder.
Snyder's Superman,
Oh,
they
you
would
go.
have been racing to save Batman from getting raped in
I
prison or
was just
something. I
about
don't
to
know.
say, one of them would be raping the other or something.
He literally said, "In my universe, Batman can get raped in prison." Like he literally said that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's an odd kind of like. What is the context of that quote? Is that just sort of like an interview and that's an
Just to
offhand comment?
prove how edgy
How
and like
edgy?
realistic his universe is
Yeah, all right. There's
for
ways of,
Batman. That he's like,
yeah,
because he's constantly been trying to justify Batman being a killer in his movies,
yeah.
in BVS
Hmm.
specifically. My justification of that for like the first part of BVS is in Batman's mind. So at this point, he's lost Robin. He's lost so much.
Yeah.
He's he sees this person who is capable of wiping out the entire human race, everybody innocent and guilty in his mind, um, that he needs to destroy. So in the movie, he's killing criminals, and my
Hmm.
justification is he's so desperate and he's lost so much at this point. He's thinking, well, what's a few criminals who I put away, 100 times each, compared to
Yeah.
the billions of innocent people I'll save by killing them to get to Superman to kill him. Like
Hmm.
that was my justification. Zack
Yeah.
Snyder's justification was, of course, Batman's gonna kill people. He has no superpowers.
Uh,
That's almost an
yeah.
exact quote.
It's kind of Zack Snyder strikes me as someone who aesthetically, I love his aesthetics, his style.
His cinematography is beautiful.
yeah, but I think he fundamentally can miss what some of the meaning of like characters and story, and he
Characters.
just sort of thinks, oh, that's cool, I'll do that, or he
He
comes at
sees
it from a
Batman
different
almost as
perspective.
this really just badass ninja warrior
Yeah, which
that
you
can
you can
fuck
thank
anybody up.
Frank Miller partly for that, because I guess he made Daredevil, or wrote a Daredevil line rather, I should say, and they said, hey, can you do that for Batman? He said, yep, where's my check? And
I mean, yeah,
allegedly,
you can tell
I
Zack Snyder read a lot of the Dark Knight Returns, and then he
mhm,
moved on to the Dark Knight Returns and read it
yeah,
again. then,
yeah,
and he was
exactly.
like, "I understand Batman. As much as I love the Dark Knight Returns, um, read another comic, Zach." So this is going to be a Batman-esque episode, I
Yeah,
guess.
and that's quite appropriate because one of the things we wanted to chat about on this particular pilot episode, something a bit niche-esque, I guess. I'm just gonna make that up, because it's Batman related, but I don't think many people have watched it. Is the Batman 1943, I think, 1943,
Yes,
serial? Yeah, that was fun,
that
kind
was.
of.
It was. It would have been good if it had less filler episodes. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was. It dragged on in the middle,
hmm
and it simply just would have been better with less filler.
Yeah.
Um,
So I guess I'll give a quick-ish overview. Kai, feel free to uh, fill in some details I missed, but basically it's kind of your classic serial, weekly episodes of the cinema, I believe, and it's pretty, it's I guess World War II propaganda. Is that fair to say? Not that that's necessarily,
considering the
but
Joker was supposed to be the main villain, and
yeah,
they swapped him out at the last minute for Japanese spy Dr. Daka,
yeah,
that's all you need to know.
yeah. Okay, so it's basically Batman fighting Ducker, I guess, or I mean he doesn't really do much to the last
He
episode.
never fights him.
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't even. He doesn't do anything at
yeah,
all.
but essentially the idea is he's working as a government agent, so for the U.S. government,
Yeah.
that's
No mention of his
totally in character.
There's no mention of a backstory, like, or
hmm
dead parents or anything. It's just he's actually a government agent.
Yeah, you
Like,
just kind
that's it.
of accept it. This is the character. These are the stakes. Let's go. Nothing really. There's no real deep relationships between him or I guess the love interest or even Robin.
Certainly not Alfred
Yeah,
or fucking whatever the lady's name was.
yeah,
Jesus Christ. They were like expendable gadgets to him.
yeah, exactly.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, so I guess at
There was some
first,
highlight moments.
yeah, I mean, I might just walk through my experience. So we both watched it together. We kind of watched the YouTube version, so that may have potentially impacted our thoughts just 'cause it's a bit tricky to watch certain scenes. Whatever version we were watching looked like it had some, I don't know, film fading out. Like there was some lighting which just looked bizarre, and you can really make out what was happening. And then there were other moments where I think you mentioned this to me, Kai, you'd miss little details like cigarette packets falling out of
Falling out of
Batman's
his cape.
pockets. Okay, pardon me.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, whichever one. I don't know if that was a joke or if that if he's just like, oops. Do you think they saw it? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure there's like lots of film mistakes that happened in earlier like shows where like, oh, and they had no concept of high def, so they'd be like, oh, it's fine, whatever. Um, and then in high detail you can see all the mistakes. Yeah, but I was
Um
quite enjoying it just for its historic appeal. Like, oh, first sort of visual medium Batman film thing.
Probably the oh, it's not.
Oh, it's
I
not.
was gonna say the first superhero thing, but that was Superman. Superman took out
Oh yeah,
serials first,
that's right.
which makes sense.
Yeah, and it's I mean, yeah, I was vaguely interested in the concept in terms of like who the villain was with regards to their kind of their thing, I guess, because they don't really have a superpower, but the idea is this Dr. Ducker chap has zombies, mind controls people to do his bidding, but it was very underutilized, but I was still intrigued, like oddly a high concept story in that regard, but they didn't do a whole lot with it, which is a shame. That was the most interesting part for me. What was he trying to do? He's trying to find uranium for a bomb or something. That was a bit dull.
For his thing to
For
take
his ray
down
gun
America.
to take down America,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
he was just trying to take down America,
yeah, and
because he was Japanese.
that's kind of where it started and ended. I think the only other thing that was intriguing to me, or only other two things that were intriguing, was the Chuck White disguise. So Batman kind of every now and then impersonate or creates this character Chuck White, and kind of goes undercover, doesn't really do a very good job of it. I mean, we'll get on to Batman and his competency in a moment, I'm sure. Kai, you have plenty to
Mhm.
say. But I at least liked that he was doing a bit of super sleuthing, a little detective work, not much. I mean, most of the time when he was Chuck White, he'd almost immediately blow his cover. Not blow his cover, but just get in trouble and a gun would be pointed in his face. So, very good super sleuthing Batman, top tier. Um, and then I think just the influence or little bits and pieces we found that kind of influenced, I guess, the Batman mythos. I think the pleasant surprise I came across, or that you told me, was this is the first time we see a Bat cave and a skinny Alfred.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's called the Bat's Cave, though. It's not called the Bat Cave. It's the Bat's Cave,
Hmm.
um, which I guess is a minor detail, which is like pointless. Sorry. And Alfred at that point was a fat, stubby little comedic relief character, and the comedic
Yes.
relief definitely went over into the series. Batman straight up watches somebody point a gun at Alfred through a window
Yes.
and doesn't act at all. He just,
Yeah. Well, I
which,
mean, we don't
if you
have.
relate it to,
Yeah, go.
you go.
I was gonna say, well, we don't have a backstory to explain why that might be an issue, so I guess it's fine technically.
Yeah,
But
but if you put your mindset into the modern day Batman and you're aware that Alfred raised him, the
hmm
fact that
and that
he
his
just
parents died
stands
by
behind the
bullet
window,
fire or gunshots, rather.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, as well.
Like,
Uh,
here's this father
he
figure,
he
whatever.
treats Alfred, yeah, he treats Alfred like absolute garbage. Robin is the most competent
hmm
person in the entire series.
I have a theory before we dive into that. Robin is the most competent. I wonder, do you think this might be where that kind of meme or sort of joke comes from, where the sidekick is more useful than the main character? You know how that's sort of like a thing that pops up every now and then, more sort of like comedy, superhero flicks. But I'm just wondering where that, if there's any connection, because I was wondering when I
Where the
was like watching it,
superhero is just like
he
he's got his head
sucks.
up his own ass
Yeah,
type
and clearly
thing,
the
and he's like,
sidekick.
"I'm the best."
Yeah, like I mean, the obvious
Um,
one is like the Green Hornet film, the Seth Rogen one, I think, or like even
yeah.
Big Trouble in Little China. I don't know if you've seen that, but clearly Kurt Russell's character sucks and just wins by coincidence. But the his colleague, the Asian chap whose name I forget, he's sort of the quote unquote sidekick character, but he kind
Hmm.
of does all the legwork and fights in that movie. So I'm just wondering how far back, like, did people watch this and go, "Wow, Batman sucks," but this Robin kid like just knows what he's doing, and if that's
Yeah,
morphed.
I don't know if it started there.
Mm,
I've never read. No, you know what? You know what? There are like old comic issues where Batman has some ridiculous disadvantage placed upon him, and it's up to
right.
Robin to solve things.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if they were before this series because I know that Batman was Detective
Mhm.
Comics number 27, released 1939.
Yep.
Um, and then I believe Robin was 2 years later, and then
Mm.
2 years later the serial comes out. So it could have been in a few issues before that Batman had these wacky, stupid things occur to him, and Robin had to get him out of it.
I see. Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I guess what some of the
but
examples
Robin
of.
would definitely be the first sidekick
Mhm.
that would have had that kind of stuff placed upon him. I feel like
Oh yeah. I think when you think sidekick, Robin comes to mind pretty much every time for most people. I can't think of a more iconic
I
one.
think for anybody,
Yeah, so I suppose we should probably elaborate on competency. Basically, Batman is a terrible fighter. He keeps getting knocked out by
loses every fight.
generic goons. He loses every fight. I don't think that's a joke to say. Or he gets badly
No,
beaten
he
every
loses
fight.
every fight.
Robin normally has to save his ass. Um, and a lot of the yeah, it's just embarrassing. I mean maybe that makes sense that he's a government agent. Oh,
He's
incompetent
incompetent.
government public servant. I have a few
Yeah,
stories. I'm sure you've got some stories about that sort of stuff. So maybe it kind of suits. Who knows? But
yeah.
um, yeah, with fighting, and I guess Batman's always getting himself in the shitter by the end of the episode because you need a cliffhanger. That's probably one of the things that really irritated me. A lot of unwise decisions where you'll find him end up in an explosion. He'll somehow survive, I guess because of plot armor. Or they'll just inject a scene. So they'll replay the sequence that you last saw in the serial. I guess they did this for most serials. Um, in the next episode, and you go, "Oh shit, how did he survive this car crash?" And they'll just insert a sequence where he got out of the car 10 minutes before the car crashes
Yeah,
or something. It's like, oh, it's so cheap.
yeah.
It's very cheap. That's not how you do it. There was one good one where I think it was might have been the first
It was the
episode.
first episode.
Yeah, and that's what got
I
me
know the one you're
hooked
talking
on
about.
it. I was super excited, so I was like, "Oh, that's fun." He falls. You go, "Oh no, what's going to happen?" And then you see the next one, and he falls onto like a scaffolding or something. I think it was.
A
Yeah,
window
like
washing
window washing
platform.
platform. Yeah, which is funny, and that's quite good and creative. And I was like, "Damn,
I
that's
thought it was
nice."
intentionally funny, but
Yeah.
after watching the rest of the series, I don't think it was.
Oh, that's
I think
true.
it was like a genuine, like, yeah, he
Hmm.
survived.
Yeah.
But then again, it is Batman's character to be
Hmm.
the ultimate
Yeah.
Deus Ex Machina character.
I guess that's true in a way.
He has plot armor because he's so popular.
That's true. That's true. And I guess we can't emphasize enough with plot armor. We're talking several explosions that he should have died in, and a mine shaft collapsing on him, which he should have at least been bruised in, and is fine. Um, and my sympathies with the henchmen who always kind of nearly kill him. They always sort of say, "Oh, we got him this time. We got him this time." Fair enough. If I saw him in an explosion, I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure
If
he's
I
dead."
saw Batman buried under
Yeah.
10,000 pounds of friggin' rock and
Hmm.
wood, I'd be like, yeah, he's definitely dead.
Yeah, but these poor suckers, I guess, don't finish the job. So it kind of became like a gag almost in a way. They'd always just report back to Daka, our main villain, and go, "Yeah, he's dead." Daka would just take it on face value, rather than like a typical villain killing them for their incompetency as well. They'd just be like, "Okay." And then next episode, "Oh,
And then he
he's
would
not."
just threaten to kill them.
Yeah, he should have used his zombies. I don't know why he didn't use his henchmen more, like his
Yeah,
mind
he
controlled
uses
henchmen.
them.
I
I think
think,
he uses them out in the field once for the
yeah,
plane.
yeah. So I guess maybe I should explain. So basically, he kind of has this mind control device, wipes their memories, and then they do his bidding through this microphone. And as Kai just mentioned, he does it once with these engineers that they kidnap, who somehow are able to fly the plane. I would have thought you would want to kidnap pilots who would fly a plane, but there you go. Um, and yeah, he doesn't do it again. And I feel like you could have had a really good sequence where maybe it happened to one of our main heroes, like Robin. What if he got mind wiped and Batman has to fight him, or
He'd
vice
fucking
versa?
wipe the floor with Batman, so
Oh yeah, that's true.
could be
He'd
over.
be the final boss. Um, that's funny.
Speaking of unintentional hilarity,
Hmm.
um, even people, it's interesting to note that even young people in 1960s America
Yeah,
would go and watch things that were old or unintentionally campy, like So Bad It's Good Stuff, and laugh
yeah.
at it in the movies when it got re-released. And
Hmm.
this was one of the serials that they would watch for the unintentional hilarity and campiness of it,
Yep.
which is one of the things that led to Adam
Hmm.
West's series being created because it got so popular on its re-shootings
Yeah.
that studios were like, "Well, what if we made it like actually
What if we
funny on purpose?"
camp it up, pop in some color? That's kind of cool. I kind of I like that in a way. But it is
Yeah,
interesting because you never think of like prior to the 90s, I guess. You never really think of people ironically watching something that's not intended to be camp or funny, but just for
yeah, and
whatever
laughing at
reason.
something. Yeah,
Yeah, and I guess because whenever I think of that, I always think there are older films like that, but they've always been discovered years later, like Plan 9 or all that, where just no one even saw those sort of films, but now they have a second following,
cult
cult
following.
following. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I feel very bad
It
for
is
the
cool.
actors involved then if they were still alive. I presume they would have been
Um,
alive.
well,
Probably?
no,
Oh, oh no.
no. Robin
Hmm.
died at the age of 40, I believe, and he was 16 at the time of the series. So, yeah, Robin
Uh,
died very young. Batman was still alive.
yeah.
Um,
We're at the age of. Oh, mate, he probably died watching the first episode. Because wouldn't so...
Oh my god, what if that's what killed him? Hold up, hold up.
Jeez.
I'm gonna find
Hang on.
out.
See, because
I'm actually gonna look this up.
I think if I've got my years right for the Adam West thing, I think that matches with when the Robin actor died from the serial 43 one.
Hold up.
Oh, mate, okay.
Batman serial. I'm gonna
hmm
find out. I have to remember the bloody actor's name. Cast.
Who did a fine job. We're
Douglas
not
Croft.
attacking any of the actors. I think you can only do
I
so much.
I liked the guy who played Robin. To be honest, I thought
Mm.
he was quite good. Nah, he died in 1963. So actually, he
Oh,
was
so a little
not
earlier.
even 40 years old.
Rest in peace,
He
my
was
dude.
uh he was 37. That sucks, man. Batman was 80. He died in 2000.
Oh no. So he would have seen Batman and Robin last, perhaps.
Oh no. One interesting thing about the actor who played Batman in this serial,
Yep.
his name was Lewis Wilson. His son is Michael G.
Drum roll.
Wilson,
Yep.
who is the producer for pretty much, I don't know what percentage, but um, the majority of the James Bond franchise.
That's pretty
And there is
cool.
actually a deep, a lot of coincidences where the Batman franchise crosses over with the James Bond franchise in real world sort of terms like
hmm
that. Funnily enough,
Interesting. Yeah, like
I'm not gonna list
Skyfall,
them because I can't remember.
which looks suspiciously like the watch it and you kind of go, this is the script of The Dark Knight. Yeah, lots of
Really, I've not
crossover.
seen Skyfall
Oh, I mean, it has this very similar. It's
premise.
the villain twist is very similar, where it's. But I guess a lot of films were copying The Dark Knight after it did it, where it's kind of like, oh, they wanted to get caught, type of thing. But it's done in a very ham-fisted, doesn't really make sense when you think about it kind of way, or like just so much had to go right for
Yeah,
their ultimate plan to work out. Whereas with Joker, it's really just like, and just a little police station, got a bomb in this guy. Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes when movies write their movie around
Mhm.
a specific, or it seems like they've written scenes around a specific cool idea they had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dark Knight Rises does that a lot.
Yeah. No, I mean, they probably, if Christopher Nolan and David S. Goyer are to be believed, I remember telling you about this. There was an interview where they had the ending in mind, like the final sort of shot. I don't know how true that is. I feel like at least Nolan didn't give a shit. At that point, it's just like, this can pay for
he
Interstellar.
didn't write any of it. He
Oh,
didn't
really? He
write
didn't
any
write
of it.
any of it. Did he write the other
I
two, or like co-write the other
he
two?
wrote the other two
Yeah.
entirely,
Okay. Oh,
but
entirely right.
I, from what I believe, he did not actually write any of it of the third one. He just
hmm
gave it to his co-writer or whatever and
Yeah.
said, "Here, do it, just finish it because I don't
Just do it.
care." He
Yes.
didn't want to make it.
Yeah. I mean, you don't really have to have a trilogy, do you? Like, I think I would have been happy if it ended on Dark Knight.
We're gonna get another one.
Do you think Dark
Um,
Knight, like the way it ended, would be fine if it was just those two films for that kind of run? Or would you? I mean, we did get a third one, but would you have always wanted a third one, like in an alternate? Because it kind of ends in a way where you can then let your
you
imagination run
can
wild
imagine
about
yourself.
what he does, because that's sort of like his. I mean, I know Batman Begins came before it, but that's when he's like on his own. He's kind of, not really working with the police at all, except maybe Jim Gordon, and you can just sort of go, okay, well, all
He
this
sets it off to
happens
be in
now.
the universe
Yeah.
that most people are aware of when it comes to Batman, where
hmm
he's like the cops hate him, but
Yeah. And then
Jim's his
like
friend and he knows that he's a good man.
what, 8 months later he's already given up. Well, not even that. Like, I think he gives up the next day. He's been missing for a year. Like, it's a really weird, not jump in time,
Time
but like
lapse.
the idea is the second and third film, it feels like more time should have elapsed than did, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's only a
Between.
year between when it should be like 10 years. Like, he's had his fight in crime and he's
Yeah,
given up. He's older. But I mean, whatever.
yeah.
I don't know.
I think because they wanted to have it so grounded,
hmm
if you look up, and I know this isn't a reliable source, but if you look up forums, people asking how long would Batman last in real life,
Yeah.
and that's assuming that the government and whoever doesn't just end up taking him down before like in a couple of weeks after his initial appearance,
Yeah.
um, because they'd instantly be able to find out who he is. But
Well, yeah, just look into
if
his
Batman
eyes or
existed in
whatever.
real life,
Yeah.
how long would he physically be able to do the
Mhm.
things that he does?
What did they
And
and
the
what did they
limit is
decide?
about 5 years. And
5 years.
that's generous, apparently.
I've never thought of it like that. That's never kind of a. I've always sort of just that sort of what's that
You've
what's
just
that
been
saying?
in the
Disbelief.
suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, suspension of disbelief. Same with like some people. I saw a video the other day about I guess it's somewhat related. Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi one, and they were kind of one of their main gripes with it was like, and I think we mentioned this when we rewatched it, but it wasn't a huge issue. Is like when Doc Ock gets his tentacles, he's just getting beaten up left and right by Spider-Man when really he should be getting
He's just a
scratched and
dude
all
with
that.
arms.
Yeah, like he's not stronger for it, but you kind of just have to like I know it's sort of silly to say, but that's sort of something you just kind of overlook because I mean
Because
it
it's a
wouldn't make
superhero
for
movie
a
and there's a guy swinging around on
yeah,
buildings.
it wouldn't make for a very
Yeah.
exciting film. And at the end of the day, you're more concerned about like Peter's vulnerabilities rather than a villain's, if that makes
It's the
sense.
magic of good writing
Yeah.
and
Oh, and a
you know,
stylistic film, like you can overlook it because it's just so dynamic and fun and
yeah.
creative that those
But
sort of
yeah, like it would
details.
be pretty boring if every time Doc Ock
Hmm.
walked up,
Yep.
Spider-Man just punched him in the head and he got
Yeah.
knocked out and his arms had to carry him away.
Hmm.
Spider-Man could finish him off.
Or
Like,
if
you
you've
know,
ever seen the Plinkett review for so Red Letter Media's Plinkett review for Indiana Jones 4, he talks about the hero of not Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, and how like realistically he would look like a complete mess, battered, completely bruised, because of the amount of times he gets
by the
hit.
end of the movie.
Yeah, like he'd probably like it's quite funny, and you go, well, yeah, because it's not really about the realism; it's adventure. Yeah,
Absolutely.
but this
But yeah, when it
serial, because we got off track a tiny bit there. Maybe we'll call ourselves the Off Track Podcast. No, I'm
off
kidding.
the rails, mate.
Off the rail. Oh, well, yeah, this episode's off. Oh, that's pretty good. I feel like someone's taken it. But that will defend us if we release any terrible episodes, which I'm sure we won't. But I can't make promises there. It
Detective,
it,
mate.
it is it is really so funny how much a contrast, and I can't reinforce this enough. It is just with how easily he gets his ass beat by like regular goons. It's
I
just.
mean, boxing existed by that
Mhm.
point.
Oh yeah, the
Like,
choreography's trash. I
you know,
don't think we
boxing
said that, did
existed
we?
for a long time by that point.
Yep.
Yeah, it is the choreography is horrible. Like, they
Mhm.
don't even really. Sometimes they throw punches, but a lot of the time they're just like tackling and like throwing each other. Batman ends up on like a windowsill or the ledge of a building. Uh,
Yeah, it's not
and
till
then
episode
like I don't know,
11.
something happens and they get survived.
Yeah, it's around like the episode 10, 11 mark, I think, where you made the joke, so I'm sorry to steal your thunder, but you said, I recall you saying, it looks like the writers realized he needs to actually do something to make people like him, and he finally started throwing his punches. He finally started doing
Well,
punches, I guess, at that point.
it's the
He wasn't
last
just
few
dancing.
episodes, so he actually needed to start making
Mm,
progress with taking down the criminals,
yeah.
because otherwise he would never be able to
But yeah, he'd never
defeat
make it,
Daka.
which is a shame because like that's the point where interest really dropped off. Like I guess because there's a lot of filler and it's just sort of a bit dull, and there's subplots that don't kind of pop up here and
Go
there.
anywhere.
Yeah, like the so Batman's love interest, whose name I forget, her uncle is one of the guys who's kidnapped and is zombified. But I don't think
He's
they
the
really
first
give a
guy, I
crap.
think.
Yeah, they don't really care after a few episodes. And then she just remembers him because he's going to show in that episode. See,
That
I
might
can barely
actually
remember,
that
but
might actually be a reference to the fact that the audience also doesn't care
yeah,
though.
but
They were just so
mm,
smart. They were like, "Damn, what if we just made the characters in the show not care, so they can match the audience's level of
yeah, engagement, interest.
of not caring?" Yeah,
What did Ducker even want him for? Like, there was some reason he wanted him.
because he knew where some
He knew.
radium was. I guess
Okay,
he knew something about radium. I'm gonna
yeah,
assume.
all right, that sounds right. Oh yeah, we haven't really talked about Ducker and how it's probably one of the most respectful performances for Yellowface, I guess.
Surprisingly unracist at the
Yeah.
time, and the fact that even the announcer calls them slanty-eyed Japs and shit.
Mm.
To be honest, like
Like his performance
the
is like,
announcer at the end of the episode, the announcer, just to interrupt, at the end of pretty much every episode will be like, "Will Batman defeat the Jap
yeah.
spies?"
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean,
Daka
it's
doesn't even say L R's instead of
mhm,
L's,
yeah,
which I was extremely surprised by. But then again, like maybe they simply didn't even know that that was a thing that some Japanese or Asian people said.
yeah, it's
You know,
true. I
like maybe
mean,
they were so disconnected from Japanese and Asian cultures that they were like they didn't know that they
mhm,
said L's
that's
as
true
or
because
R's as L's.
any
Sorry,
Asians that were in America at that point were interned, so they wouldn't
or
have seen them.
deported.
Yep. But
Yep.
yeah,
And it's
no,
not
it's
racist even, to be honest. Like, just to interrupt, that impersonation, it probably would have racist intent if they used it, but in Japanese language, they simply do not have the letter L. So that is why they
yeah,
say R instead of L.
yeah, and I mean, you've learnt Japanese for a few years, so I'll take your word for it. Um,
Yeah, it's simply not in their language.
yeah, no, I can understand.
How do we want to end our podcast? Do we want to have a thing that we do consistently at the end of every day or
Oh,
every
oh, mate,
episode?
you think we're gonna do this every day? Oh, I've been trying to record this for three
It took us
weeks.
fucking 3 weeks to do one.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good thing. Well, I guess probably like I imagine going forward, and this is for the viewers listening. I think it's always fun to do like viewer question things. I don't know how I would
all right.
work that
Well,
out, or like if they'd leave comments
okay.
wherever. Um, or maybe like a
Okay. If
teaser for
you're
what.
the next episode's gonna be.
Yeah, which at this point I'm not
Okay.
too sure.
Well,
What's kind of on the
I have a
way?
viewer question.
Oh, wow.
Considering this one was mostly about Batman, I'm
Yes.
gonna say, what is everybody's favorite Batman? I'm not talking just actors. It could be live action. It could be animated. It could be comic book.
Hmm.
What is everybody's favorite Batman, and why? That's what I want to know.
For the viewers watching, or for us,
That's for the
or for
viewers
both?
watching.
For the viewers watching. All right. Let us know.
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of Kevin Conroy's,
Yes. And by a lot,
which is awesome.
he means two out of the three people who potentially
100%.
commented, but hopefully more.
Me commenting
Mm.
3 times
Yeah, and of
on
course they
three
can,
separate accounts.
and they can also post questions wherever, and we can read them. I guess a few
Oh yeah,
podcasts I
if you
know do
guys
that.
want to ask us anything and see if we can talk about it,
Yeah,
go feel free. I'd like that. That would make it a lot easier. We would probably get less sidetracked. Although
yeah,
that's not true at all. We would definitely get sidetracked anyway.
and we'll try and talk about a range of topics. I think, predominantly kind of pop culture, film stuff, but we'll probably branch out because I know people can get tired of that, just in terms of the swath of things that are out there already.
Just like the fact that
Mr.
there's
Sunday
so
movies.
much friggin' pop culture shit coming out now as it is.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess in terms of what we'll want to talk about next time, see, I don't know when we're gonna next record, because I guess a big thing coming down the line, we'll probably watch the Kong and Zilla matchup, and maybe talk about that,
And
lead up to that
Justice League.
series. Oh,
I
when's the
guess we
Snyder
can.
Cut? When's the Snyder Cut?
It comes out 17th of March.
17th of March. All right.
Hold
Wow.
up, hold up, hold up. Snyder Cut
You can see we're very
release
prepared for this
date
podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
18th of March.
18th of March.
So
All right.
if we haven't, okay, so whenever we go and see it, the podcast that follows, whether that be episode 2 or episode 3,
Mhm.
um, we
Yeah.
will review it.
I was gonna suggest maybe we'll
And
do an
if we've
Oscars
also seen,
episode for fun, but like just because it's so much cringe, I don't want to really make us sit through that. And I have no idea. I don't think I
only if
watched any
Ricky
new films
Gervais
last
does it.
year. Like I just saw
No,
old
I don't think
stuff.
I haven't even seen Wonder Woman 1984. I simply don't care.
Mm.
Sorry.
I guess we
I
were
love comic
planning.
books, and I
Oh yeah. Oh, you go first. I was
sorry.
gonna.
No, you go. You we were planning what?
I was saying we were planning at some point on watching because we've done a binge through of Star Wars films up to episode 6. I think we were going to watch 7, 8, 9. We decided initially we didn't, so I
Just
guess
to
we can do that as a retrospective because I'm not too sure. Yeah, because 18th of
just
March is a while away from
you
when
know,
we're recording this.
27th of February for anybody who's
Yeah.
curious.
So the
Um,
I'm on the race now. I'm on the clock to see how quick I can turn around this episode and edit it with decent audio. Uh,
yeah.
that's all right.
So, okay, we're gonna do a review of the Snyder Cut once we've seen that in
Mhm.
whatever episode that follows. And if we've also seen GVK, Godzilla vs Kong, before that episode gets recorded for the Snyder Cut, it'll be a dual review.
Yep.
Um, just because, like, why would we separate two episodes? And at some point we will talk about Clone High,
Yep.
because we also watched that sometime last year. It was very funny. We might get our friend who also
Hmm.
watched it with us. Sorry, to join in, depending if he is free at the time or not.
And as I don't even know if I said this. I guess I'll find out when I re-listen. Um, we'll probably have a bit more of a structure. I'm planning maybe some news segments, what we've been up to, but this week's been a bit kind of dull for both of us. We've just been working really, I think. Nothing nothing too exciting to talk
Just
about on the
working.
podcast. Yeah. This is kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
nice creative outlet for us, I suppose, just a way to catch up, get a community
Yeah,
building, do something fun, add something to the resume,
yeah,
from the mundanities of normal 9 to 5 life.
yeah. Maybe take you guys away from your mundane 9 to 5s as well, and you
Yeah.
can laugh at us
I mean,
be
yeah,
really
if
horrible at
if you've got
podcasting.
a really dull job, we've just given you an hour of quality content to listen to while you sit at your office, I guess. And you can
Define
replay
quality.
it.
You can
uh,
replay. You can play it over your from your boss's
mhm. Speakers.
transmitter over the entire office. Yeah, make
Or
everybody
yeah,
listen to it.
you can do it
Hey,
like
Steve in
Shawshank
accounting.
Redemption, and then just like if you're in if you happen to be locked up in prison, just play it over the speakers. Everyone can hear it. You'll probably be shanked for it,
Mhm.
but we're not liable for any murders that may or may not happen
Hey,
as a
hey,
I don't know,
hey, hey,
as a
hey, hey.
result. Hey,
Don't give out any ideas. Now we are liable if somebody gets shanked.
okay,
If you get shanked listening to this podcast, it wasn't our fault.
Zack
And
Snyder's.
by listening to this podcast, any shanking that happens occurs is immediately brushed off of us and onto you. There you go. Legally, we're good.
Yeah, boy. All right. And apologies
All
in
right.
advance.
Thanks
I'm
for
sure I've
listening.
knocked my microphone a lot during that recording, but whatever.
Thank you for listening. See you next
Yes, I'm
time.
Jack. Thank you very much.
I'm not Jack.